Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I want to talk about a topic that comes up a lot, and that is what is the best focal length for street photography. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, before I answer this question, this very important question, there will be a poll up there and I want you to vote for your favorite focal length. Let me know which is your favorite focal length, and after the video leave a comment down below and please explain why this is your favorite focal length. Okay, now you want to know which is the ultimate focal length for street photography? Okay, drum roll. It depends. Let me explain why. When I started out with street photography, that was probably maybe roughly 10 years ago, let's say in 2009. I had no idea about the term street photography at all. So I was just traveling and I was taking photos, and the lenses I used mainly, or the lens I used mainly was actually this guy here. It's a Samyang 85-1.4, and the reason I used this lens was because simply I like the look of the wide aperture and the focal length. And also back then I was using a Fuji S5 Pro. It was a DSLR. That one had a crop sensor, so it's not actually an 85 lens, so it's like it's more than 125 millimeter. But back then I really liked it and I had no idea about street photography. I just liked the aesthetics, that's all. A while later I realized maybe 85 is a little bit too long, so I got another lens, and that is this one here. It's the Voigtlander 40mm f2, and also used this on a crop sensor camera, later on a full frame camera. I like that lens quite a bit, and still it's one of my favorite lenses. I mean, look at that, it's tiny. It's like considered a pancake lens. So I used that lens for a while, but then at some point I started to convert to mirrorless cameras. So I was about to sell all my DSLR gear because it became just too heavy and I didn't want to bother anymore. So I converted to a mirrorless camera, and I used Olympus cameras in the beginning. And the lens that I got for my Olympus cameras was this guy here. It's the 17-1.8. It's a very small lens, but it's a really good lens, and this is roughly a 35mm. So I got really comfortable with getting closer to people and using the 35mm lens, which I really liked. And I still, even though I don't have a Micro Four Thirds camera, I still have this lens for some reason. And yeah, it's a really good lens, I like it a lot. Then I got into the Sony system, and one reason I got into Sony was this lens here, the Metacon 50-095, because back then in I think it was 2014, the A7S with this lens, that was like a night vision. So I was shooting a lot of weddings, and for that it was absolutely amazing, and I liked the look of this lens. So I used this lens also for street photography. So it was the first time for me using like roughly a 50mm lens. And I liked it because it just simply liked the look, and I shot all wide open, which is quite ridiculous and a hard thing to achieve, but the look was quite nice. But what happened then was the Leica Q got introduced, and the Leica Q is a 28mm lens, and 28mm on a full frame camera, that's pretty wide. So you had to get really close to people, and in the beginning it took some time to get used to it, but after a while I realized it's not a problem. It's not harder than using a 35mm lens. 28, for me, that felt so natural. Maybe it's also because most of our phones, they use a 28mm lens, so people get really used to 28, and that's why you probably will see 28mm camera or lenses or cameras with a fixed lens maybe more often in the future. Or maybe not, maybe I'm wrong. But still, I think 28 is a good focal length. However, when I got my Leica M6, I also got this lens here, the Worklender Ultron 35-1.7, which is an absolutely amazing lens. It's really sharp. I simply like the aesthetics of the lens, and yeah, I like it. I don't know why I got this instead of a 28. Honestly, I have no idea. But so I was shooting the Leica M6 and the Q side by side. It took me some time to get used to the different focal length after using one camera for a while. Anyway, just recently I went on a trip to Egypt, specifically to Cairo. And I got this one here. It's a 28. It's like a 28 Elmarit. It's a 2.8 lens, 28 mil. And when I got this lens on my camera and I hit the streets of Cairo and I started to take photos, it felt so natural. And then I knew, okay, I have to get a 28 mm lens for my M6 because there's no way I want to go back to 35 because 28 just feels so natural. And for me personally, I think that's my ultimate focal length for street photography. However, what does it mean for you? What is now the ultimate focal length for street photography? For me in the beginning it was the 85. Later it became like a 50 mm or the 35 mm lens. And now, right now, for me personally, 28 mm is the ultimate focal length. It helps me to achieve photos that are more complex, to layer things, to get more things into the frame. That makes it a lot easier than using a 50 mm lens. But for you, I think it comes down to which stage you're in. If you're just a beginner, maybe 50 mm or maybe a longer lens might be easier for you. And if you're advanced in street photography, maybe it's 35, maybe 20, maybe it's a 20 mm lens. What do you think about this topic? Let me know in the comments down below and we will see each other very soon in the next video. Until then, auf Wiedersehen.